Well, let's go back to Erling Haaland because we mentioned a few of the numbers already, which are like mind-blowing.
Yes.
I made the point on the FC show yesterday that I don't see any reasons why he would slow down because he's not going to play against Arsenal or Newcastle or, let's say, Liverpool, who are, I guess, the other three most difficult teams you're going to face, whether it's home and away, I don't care, this season. There will be a lot of games where he will have 4 or 5 chances, where he will be able to score 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a reason why Alan Shearer or Thierry Henry or Mo Salah or Luis Suarez at his best or Harry Kane, or, I mean, we can name all the great strikers that we've seen in the Premier League era here in England who've only reached 34 or less goals in their season in the Premier League. But he's different.
Yeah.
And I just think he plays in the team that will create so much for him.
Yeah.
Even when he's a bit rusty like he was against Leeds, maybe, he still scores 2.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. The potential is there. It really, really is there. And I think for City, you expect them to score over 100 goals in the league. So if that's going to be the case, then, why can't you get to 40? Why can't you get more? Because there's just an abundance of talent in terms of people who can provide the service for him. And as well as that, he makes some really good runs. And as we saw in the game yesterday, there's a point, the very first chance he had where he tried to kick it over Meslier. Is it Meslier or Meslier? Meslier. The ball got played in behind and Cooper was alongside him. Within 5 steps, he's now ahead of Cooper because he's bigger than, quicker than, and stronger than most people who play against. So even if it's a game whereby his movement isn't as good as it needs to be, you always know a ball in behind offers him a greater opportunity of scoring. So I hope he does really well, and I think the sort of curveball here as such, because I agree with what you're saying about the chances and his conversion rate. I'll be interested to see how they play Alvarez when he comes back in.
Yeah.
Because now they're going to have to be sharing game time, because as we've seen, they've got a busy schedule and stuff like this.
January
so crazy. I think people shouldn't necessarily expect him to be playing in every single game all the time. And in some ways, if he does, maybe sometimes he'll come off the bench as well, because that's the way that City work. It appears at times that people play every single week, but when you get to the end of the season, you realise that there are times where they're down, other times when they're very much up.
Yeah. I mean, I won't ask you how many goals you think he's going to score, because I think it's just impossible.
Yeah, the fact he's on 20 now after 15 games, like in my head, what was it, 21 or 22 goals last season won the Golden Boot in the Premier League?
So I think he was 22. I looked it up. I think with 20 he would have won already.
It's literally
like 7 years.
There was a point in our lifetimes where a goal every other game was the highest standard.
Yeah.
Anyone who tipped above it was like, oh, this is absolutely incredible. Yeah. And then along came Messi and Ronaldo. Yeah. And now all of a sudden our perceptions of like what is successful has changed so much.
Yeah.
So to be at this point now, like a few years ago, if you scored 20 come the end of the season, in your first season, as a 22-year-old, that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But now we're thinking, well, if he doesn't hit 40, well, maybe that's disappointing. I know, it's mind-blowing, but it's good to see. And not everyone supports Man City, that's great. But people who appreciate centre-forward play,
definitely.
Like, look at how he does it, because he is special.
And I like the hunger that you mentioned earlier about the fact that he had to watch the World Cup on television. He went on holidays, of course, but then watched the World Cup on television.
Some people wouldn't watch it.
I mean,
he wants to watch it.
I know, and Sky, who obviously have some of the rights here, did that little promo video where he was basically he had to do things to get while waiting for the Premier League to restart, which was brilliant. And yesterday, okay, maybe I think rusty is probably the wrong word, but in the sense that you know how much he wanted to score, you know how much he wanted to play, and maybe there's a couple of chances earlier on at 0-0 where if that chance had arrived after he's already scored the 2 goals, he would have scored bang, the 2.
Yeah. He's an interesting player because I think his priorities are his team first and then his own like individual thing within that second. I know some strikers where it's the other way around, but after the team had won, he reflected back and thought, I should have scored more. Yeah. There are some strikers whereby as long as they score, they don't care about the misses. Yeah. But I think this is the thing about him and some of these other talents who are very, very much aspirational. They want to get better. And it's so easy to forget he's 22 years of age.
I know, it's crazy.
If you think he's like Kevin De Bruyne and so on, and even Benzema winning Ballon d'Or at 35.
Exactly.
If he stays fit and continues to improve and has the drive that he has and he's in the right sort of situation, like in 3, 4, 5 years' time, we could see a player that's maybe twice as good as he is now.
Yeah.
It's a guy who's currently scoring a goal every game basically throughout his career. It's it's crazy to think, but I think he understands it. He seems very level-headed.
Yeah.
He's got things heading in the right direction. People are trying to keep him sort of like under wraps, and he just wants to get better. A great player that wants to get better is a player you want to have in your side.
Definitely.
And he's one who you definitely do not want to play against.
And obviously, because he was born in Leeds, where his dad played, I think it was a special. It was a special game in a way as well. You know, it was special.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.